Hello and welcome to the circus.
I'm just so sick and tired. I'm hanging on a wire, a foot over the fire, and it's burning. I can feel it inside. Done with the same cliche, done with the day after day. There's got to be a way. Now is the time to break the tie. I'll live, I'll die for what is wrong and what is right. I'll take the pain for all the ones without a name. To be invincible, we'll be invincible. To be invincible, we'll be
Hell yeah, we are finally here. It is week 1 of the NFL regular season, and we have finally fucking made it. Good Lord, it's been a long and arduous offseason, and the days leading up have been just panic in the streets with all these fucking injuries. It's brutal out here. I'm here to help support as best I can. At this point, it's just like, I think everyone feels the pain of, especially the tight end injuries. I know I'm suffering through the Mark Andrews one, especially. But just overall, we'll go through just like a couple of, like I had mentioned, some of these injuries. Let me go pull this up right here. This is my first live stream of the year. It's also just the first live stream of my life, basically. I've never done stuff like this, but I wanted to open up the platform a little bit. So let's go see. Try and multitask a little bit here. So Dr. Jesse Morris, if you're not following him, you definitely should change that, because he's always got these handy dandy injury reports that I love. So we'll take a quick chop through that in just a second here. Okay. I can barely see that. Let's amplify this a little. Whoa. What are we doing here? Okay, here we go. Perfect. The main ones: Cooper Kupp out, Christian Watson out, Mark Andrews is probably out, Kendre Miller is out, Devon Achane, surprise inactive. I mentioned I loved Achane early in the year, but I basically had to stop drafting him because it's such a muddled backfield right now in Miami that it just basically scared me off of drafting him. So you definitely can't start him today, unfortunately. Let's go see here. This is just a nightmare right now. Here we go. Copy link. Thank you. That's all I want. See if we can't get some people in the live chats asking questions so that I am not just talking to myself this whole time. Throw these in a couple league chats. I'm so confident that I'll give start sit advice to my opponents. All right, here we go. So, I mean, I'll start just going through my own stuff, to be honest. I'm pretty well set at this point. In all my money leagues, I basically got really lucky. And I was able to go get Isaiah Likely to cover me for where I have Mark Andrews. And I generally, like, it's gross, but like tight end is gross. So Isaiah Likely today is a start over pretty much every tight end after like the rest of the main guys. So like if Kittle plays, I'm playing Kittle. I'm playing Pat Fryermuth. I'm playing Evan Ingram. Where you start to lose me is like I still like Chigo Okonkwo and the potential that he has on the season, but the road matchup against the Saints is pretty gross. So at that point, I think I'll just take the matchup with Isaiah Likely. He has performed well in instances where Mark Andrews has not been available. And even, at times when Andrews was on the field with him, he was able to perform admirably. So I'm pretty comfortable starting Isaiah Likely today. Ooh. Oh, and we got our first question of the day. Start to full PPR. Cortland Sutton, Mike Evans, Michael Thomas, or Chris Godwin. Oh, fuck. That's a tough one. Shout out to Jose Vega. Thank you for the question. Appreciate it. God damn, 2 full PPR. So, I mean, process of elimination. Cortland Sutton and the Broncos are facing the Raiders. The Bucks. Who the hell are the Bucks facing again? I like Mike Evans today because it just feels like Mike Evans is going to get all his points like in 1 week, doesn't it? And this feels like it could be that week. Oh, against the Vikings. Oh man, yeah, that matchup is pure juice. And then Michael Thomas, Saints are playing the Titans. I just mentioned I'm not super plussed on Chigo Okonkwo on the other side. Man, this is a tough one. I want the upside of Mike Evans. I feel like this week against the Vikings, and the whole contract thing that just got denied, doesn't it just feel like Mike Evans is going to come out with a chip on his shoulder? Baker Mayfield too is the type that will take a couple shots downfield. This feels like the Mike Evans game. Like I'm going with Mike Evans. I'm going to go with Mike Evans as the first option, and then I think the second one for me, you can't play both guys on the same team. As much as I love Chris Godwin, I think process of elimination means I'm going with Mike Evans, and I am still in a wait and see mode on the Denver Broncos. But Michael Thomas also, if Michael Thomas is fully healthy, which he is supposedly, I'm going to roll with Michael Thomas. I'm going to take the chance week 1 that he is like legit back. I think the matchup is good against the Titans. They're at home. Yeah, I'm going to roll with Mike Evans and Michael Thomas. I'm going with the Mikes here. I do like Cortland Sutton's matchup, but no, it's week 1, and week 1, I feel like you need to try and hit like the 50-yard bomb TD, and Mike Evans gives you that chance. I have Mike Evans in a couple lineups going today, so if he sucks, I'm gonna get hurt just as bad as you. So We'll go with Mike Evans and Michael Thomas. Final answer. If you really, the only other way I would kind of hem and haw here is you could take the floor of Sutton Godwin, specifically if like the rest of your team is pure juice. Like, your running backs are Nick Chubb and Austin Eckler, and you have Justin Herbert at quarterback, and your tight end is Hawkinson, the only one left fucking standing at this point. Like, if every single one of your players is pure upside and you're in a matchup where you should win comfortably, like at that point, I would maybe take one of the 4 plays. But for the most part, especially if you're dealing with any kind of like injuries to any other part of your team and you're looking for an upside play, the only real upside play I feel like is Mike Evans. Very long-winded answer, but it's the only question we got in the chat right now. Also, just to answer a general question, I guess, today we are smoking a nice sativa, I believe. Now, this I got from the neighbor because I'm actually waiting for my order, but I believe this is Northern Lights, is what he told me. I've had it before. It's pretty decent. I mean, it's Canada. It's hard. It's almost harder to get bad weed here than it is to find good weed. Oh, yeah. If you had to sit Kelsey. So just in the comments, Jose Vega, again, thank you. Appreciate the interaction. But he said he had to sit Travis Kelsey. So if you are one of the Travis Kelsey managers, and again, now you're deciding between, that's a perfect, we're just going to cut it down to 2 even, just to use as an example for anyone else out there. Cortland Sutton and Mike Evans. Like, to me, that's like you're looking at a floor play and a ceiling play. It's like Mike Evans is very boom or bust. Maybe he goes out there and gets 2 for 25. Maybe he goes out there and gets 5 for 225 and 2 touchdowns. Like, that's literally within the realm of possibility when it comes to Mike Evans. In fact, last year, he crushed me in a fantasy playoff because he didn't do shit all fucking year until that magical playoff game. And then he just went banana hammock sandwich in my championship. So that Mike Evans is literally like the reason. I mean, besides the fact that also Lamar Jackson and Derrick Henry were not available to me, but like if Mike Evans had just had a normal game because my opponent had several of the Bills Bengals in the DeMar Hamlin game, unfortunately, but because of that, it like equated to where, his missing pieces were like equal to my missing pieces, so that it was still very much a fair matchup. And the difference was absolutely Mike fucking Evans. If he just has the same normal game that he has all year, then I am sitting here with a fantasy championship behind me. But instead, I am still just sitting with salty tears. So fuck you, Matt McGinns. I know you're out there. I know you'll see this at some point. So love you, appreciate you, but also hate you. That's the nature of fantasy football, isn't it? Ooh. For me today, I feel like I don't really have like a lot of hard decisions. I did lose Christian Watson in a couple of leagues, but it's like in the leagues that I had him, the decision for the replacement's like pretty easy because there just really isn't that many like people on my bench in those deeper leagues that are even like worth a start. Like, it's between like Jordan Howard and Puka Nakua. So it's like, well, Jordan Howard's obviously not doing anything today. So take my chance on the rookie there and hope that Matthew Stafford, uses him as a replacement Cooper Kupp. All right, let's see if we can get some more people in on this live stream. Oh, duh. You know where I forgot to post this? The Fantasy Football Advice Network. Oh, silly little me. Yeah, so I'll take this moment. Sorry, got distracted there trying to multitask again. Fantasy Football Advice .network. Hey, let's share a screen even, and we'll go look at just how sexy this looks. So this is just the main page, almost like a beautiful sleeper setup here with the dark screen. I love it. But you can see they got the advice forum, articles, videos, podcasts. You can even create your own content if you want. It has a lot of aspects similar to like Facebook and Twitter, where you can follow people and make friends. You can have your own brand. You can make your own groups. But then down here, we also have traditional player rankings, trade calculator, league classifieds. Like that's just, clutch in every situation. And you can get in and just like explore and look around on the main page and stuff for free now. And then if you decide that you want to dive in further, you can absolutely sign up, which I highly recommend. Especially if you're like a new content creator and you're looking for a place where you can interact with other content creators and post your stuff and kind of get, that early support from, people on the struggle. Like I, again, highly recommend Fantasy Football Advice Network. Fantasy Football Advice .network. So make sure that you go join up. But we posted in there. I'll see if we can draw a couple more flies to the big old turd that is this live stream, and see what we can do with that. And if not, I might just shoot the shit a little bit and then get out of here so I can get myself prepped for some fantasy football. Take my dog for a walk. Make sure she's chilled the fuck out. But we'll smoke a little bit more. I planned on going until 12:30, but might cut it short, depending. We'll see. It's the very first live stream of the year, so I wasn't really expecting much. The fact that I even got a question, super appreciate that. And we'll see if we can't get a couple more people in, but here we go. And all was quiet in the fantasy world until the Titans were injured. And then there were cries across the land from all the fantasy managers. I'm absolutely going to be doing just whatever the fuck I want on these live streams. It's funny because it's like right now there's not even anyone watching. I'm just talking to myself like a crazy person. But hey, I wouldn't be the fantasy joker if I wasn't a little bit kooky, right? Smoking weed. Put that shit in my hand, little man. $20, and that's a gram or something like that. I fucked up the song, but it doesn't really matter because there's no one singing along. It's okay. I got Lego Batman with me. Back me up here. That's right. Oh, we got a question coming in from oh well. Hang on a sec. For some reason. All right, so got two questions coming in from Facebook. So the first one is a very interesting dilemma. I actually love this. A philosophical question, all right? My opponent has an injured tight end. Do I tell him or do I just let him handicap himself? So this is very like, this is who are you as a person? So I know my answer. I'm super competitive. Like, I will take it as a slight to myself that I didn't beat him at his best, at his most optimal lineup, because it's week 1. I'm not going to fucking lie to you. If this was week 13, fuck that. Zip. Not a word. Fucking take that key, throw it away. Especially when money's on the line. Like, hey, if you're not paying attention, like that's part of the game. So, but week 1, I'm generally like, it's week 1. I'm really competitive. I want everyone to like do their best. And also, I happen to be commissioner in a lot of leagues, and that's something like it can be hard psychologically for a person to start a season on a bad note and then also keep playing and like pushing through. So it's like you're talking about all kinds of different mental and psychological aspects of, you know, human beings and fantasy football. So because it's week 1, my answer is yes. Tell him, you know, give him that chance to shoot him a message of like, hey, you know, now when you tell him, you know, it can be totally up to you. If you want to wait till 12:45 so he doesn't have a lot of time to decide on waivers, you know, that's fine. Or, you know, even if you want to be a real dick about it, tell him at 1:05 so that all the 1:00 games have run and now he's got even less games to choose from. But no, like I mentioned, in the beginning of the season, I will tell them. By the end of the season, fuck that. I'm not saying a goddamn thing. Like, if you aren't fucking paying attention to your team, thank you for your money. And, you know, as a commish, generally speaking, like, those are the people that I'm looking to replace the next year. Where I'm like, if you couldn't handle, like, staying mentally checked in for, you know, 3 months of football, like, maybe this just isn't for you, because most fantasy sports like hockey and basketball, like those run daily. Like those require almost like another level of sacrifice in terms of just following the news and shit for injured players, because it's every single day. Fantasy football, ultimately, like, you know, I know a lot of us, and myself obviously, very much like take it serious and dive super far into it, but like yeah, no, like it's so funny to me. That was completely losing my train of thought, but that's okay. That's what happens when we smoke on the live stream. But getting back to the question, yeah, it's week 1, so I tell them. Only because it's week 1. And then by the end of the season, fuck them. Here we go. Okay, here we go. The first likely question. So Mark Andrews is out. I have that problem in all the leagues where I have Mark Andrews, though. I really went quickly and snapped up Isaiah Likely. Now, the question coming in is full point PPR, Likely or Musgrave? Now, I know people are, you know, high on Musgrave because he's, you know, established himself as like the tight end 1 for Green Bay, and you could potentially see more targets today because of Christian Watson being out. But like, people are touting Sam Laporta like he had this amazing game. He went 5 for 35. If Luke Musgrave goes 5 for 35, it's going to feel like a win, but it's not actually a win. Isaiah Likely has much more likelihood to score. So absolutely, like, that's smash for me, Isaiah Likely all day. The only people I'm playing over Isaiah Likely today is Kittle, Hawkinson, Freiermuth, Evan Ingram, Waller if he plays, end of list. Like, I'd rather play him over Chico Conquo. I'd rather play him over Hayden Hurst. I'd rather play him over Hunter Henry. I'd rather play him over the Jake Ferguson kid in Dallas. I'd rather play him over even honestly Dallas Goedert. That one to me is close. Dallas Goedert or Isaiah Likely is literally a toss-up in my mind. So that's how highly I view Isaiah Likely in the absence of Mark Andrews. And he's way more likely to score the touchdown is Isaiah Likely, pun intended. Oh, I got a friend here. He's like, I will join after church. Well, after church, I may not be here. Right now, we are in the church of fantasy football. Call it blasphemous, if you will. I am a blasphemer. I am scandalous. I am outrageous. Oh. Yeah, the Watson Dobbs effect. I actually think that is like worse. The fact that if Christian Watson and Romeo Dobbs are both missing, the idea that Luke Musgrave is going to like garner more targets, I actually think it's going to work against them to where it's like you're a rookie tight end now suddenly having to essentially kind of operate almost as like the first target. I really don't like it. I'm starting to think the Packers are going to get their ass kicked in this game. Like, if you're missing all your weapons, great. And I really like the Packers. Look, I've got Jordan Love in a lot of places. I've got Christian Watson in a lot of places. But if you're going to be missing, and we just saw it with Patrick Mahomes, you know, and he's the GOAT. And we've seen this in the past with Tom Brady. It's such a stupid argument of like, look, yes, great quarterbacks can elevate otherwise average wide receivers to being better than they are a lot of the time. However, that doesn't work 100% of the time, nor does it negate the fact that you require talent on the outside lanes to help your fucking quarterback. As good as Tom Brady was in all the years that he had just jabroni wide receivers, he was significantly better the year he had Randy fucking Moss. They broke the wide receiver touchdown record together. So it's like, and they went undefeated and only lost in the Super Bowl on like the flukiest fucking play of all time. Granted, one of the greatest plays of all time. Helmet catch will live forever. But don't fucking come at me like that was like supposed to happen. That was absolutely one of the craziest fucking upsets in Super Bowl history. There's a reason that it will live on in infamy forever. That team was undefeated. They were perfect because of Tom Brady and Randy Moss. And yes, all the auxiliary pieces in the defense and so many things. But 23 fucking touchdowns was a big reason why also. Matt Stafford was better with Megatron. Like, yeah, Kurt Warner even when he was in now then St. Louis, now Los Angeles, had Torrey Holt and Isaac Bruce, and then when he was in Arizona and they made the Super Bowl run, he had Larry Fitzgerald. Yeah, go get your fucking quarterbacks some wide receivers, NFL GMs. Like, it's not that hard. Mike Evans can't get a contract right now. If I'm the Chiefs, I trade Chris Jones, or I just tell him, like, look, you're not getting the contract, but we're going to just straight let you go to free agency. We're not going to fuck around. We're not going to hold you. We want you to come back, perform to the best of your ability this year, and next year you walk completely free into free agency to do whatever you want. And, you know, we're gonna do that because we want to trade for and sign Mike Evans to a 2-year deal. Like, man, go get. And it doesn't even have to be Mike Evans. He's just the most obvious option out there because his contract is up. He's on a team that's going nowhere. They have other wide receivers. They could probably, you know, they probably want to even part with him at this point. Like, he's had a tremendous career with the Buccaneers, but it's probably time for him to move on. So it's just like it's the most obvious answer, and sometimes the most obvious answers are the correct answers. That's another thing too of fantasy football that's been driving me crazy is like it's week 1 and, you know, everyone's trying to start like their flyer upside potential guy that they took in the last round. No, the most obvious answer most of the time is the correct answer. And betting on outliers is fine and it's fun, but they are outliers for a reason. If you make a bet on something that only happens 10% of the time, as opposed to something that happens 50% of the time, that's not a good bet to make. The thing happening 50% of the time, and granted, it may not happen every time. That's the point of football. But if it's happening with a more consistent likelihood, again, 50% is a significantly greater likelihood than 10%, then you should be betting on the 50%. That's the safe bet. And the safe bet is often the smart bet. Now, you still want to have some upside. I'm not saying that your whole entire lineup and your whole entire year should only be safe bets. But you also should not be trying to rely on exclusively outliers to give your team the upside that it needs to win. Balance is key, but balancing, you know, I prefer to balance and have veteran players that I know will produce, whether or not they produce to the level of other players or for even the entire season. Guys like Adam Thielen, guys like Hunter Renfrow, those are guys that I know that they are starting wide receivers. I know that they're going to get between 6 to 8 targets, between, you know, 50 to 80 yards, and possibly a touchdown. That is more bankable than taking the bet on a Sky Moore, on a Kadarius Toney, on a Jaden Reed, on all these, on Terrace Marshall, on whatever unproven guy that you are wish casting into existence. Take the proven value and proven commodity, because more often than not, and I learned this lesson early because when I played in my rookie year, and I still play with him to this day, one of my personal favorite fantasy players, shout out to my co-commissioner for my main money league. His name's Cody. He's not on Twitter. He's not a fantasy analyst or anything. He's just a regular dude in regular life. But one of the things that he tends to do is he really always valued veteran production. And it drove me fucking crazy losing to this guy with dudes like Delaney Walker and past his prime Larry Fitzgerald on his team. But it's because it works. It's like Buckley's. It tastes awful, but it works. And so I learned from him that, yes, you want to take your Jalen Hyatts and your Jaden Reeds and take your chances, but your whole bench should not look like that, because what ends up happening is then you don't have any viable starters to plug and play when your main guy gets injured or when your main guy's not available or, you know, when shit happens, bye weeks, whatever it happens to be. So don't overlook veteran production. Some of these messages aren't coming through. I'm just going to go check and see. No, just honestly, at this point, I'll just pull questions straight from online. Ooh, that's the wrong mouse. I got my work computer over here. Gets real confusing sometimes. All right, here we go. Question incoming. Do a couple. I'll see if I can grab a couple more questions just like randomly, and then if I can't really, then which rookie will have the best fantasy day? I mean, Bijan Robinson, but that's the easy answer. Okay, so okay, so who will have the best rookie performance for fantasy? And we're going to exclude Bijan Robinson because that would be too easy to just say Bijan. So let's take Bijan out. I'm going to say... which rookie wide receiver? Okay, they clarified. They meant rookie, because I was going to say just which rookie. I mean, Bijan is the obvious choice there. So, yeah, which rookie wide receiver? Well, JSN, apparently he's going to play with the wrist brace on or something like that. I love his talent, and I think it's ballsy, but I don't like that he's going to be sharing with Tyler Lockett and DK Metcalf. I don't even know how much they're going to have to throw against the Rams if the Rams are struggling to score. That could end up being a low-scoring game, so that one's out for me. Quentin Johnston, I really like him. The matchup with Miami is really good. I don't know that I'm trying to start him week 1 unless I really have to. Like if I am the Christian Watson owner, If if I had a tight end in my flex for some reason and I had to bump them up to cover one of the injured tight ends, if I'm a Jerry Jeudy manager even, and even though he's kind of like on the fence of whether or not he may or may not play, like at that point I would just rather go with Quentin Johnston, I think, in the upside. But to me, the answer is Zay Flowers, especially with Mark Andrews out. They're facing Houston. As much as Houston's defense should be somewhat improved under D'Amico Ryan's new head coach, and with the pick that they took second overall there, Will Anderson, it's not going to be in week 1. And from what I saw in the preseason, they were still getting run on pretty steadily. It's going to be a lot of Lamar Jackson and J.K. Dobbins. But I think in the passing game, it's going to be Zay Flowers. I see Zay Flowers having a really good game. I do like Jordan Addison as well, but no, I'm going to stick with Flowers here. I think the matchup, the fact that he's at home, the fact that Mandrews is probably out, I think all arrows are pointing to the way of Zay Flowers, so I'm rolling with him. All right, well, we got a little bit more smoke here. Let's see if I can get another question in while I pack this bowl. And then we'll get out a little bit early, but we ended up doing most of it. Again, very first one of the year. I'll end up clipping off some of these, sharing them, maybe see if we can grow the following a little bit. And yeah, we'll see what we can do with this for the rest of the year. But hey, I mean, like I said, it's my very first one ever, really. We did try to live stream our draft for the Big Money Wrestling League, but Sleeper was having a lot of latency issues and just everything was on fire. And as commissioner, I kept having to like manage the draft. So I would just like stop talking for really long points in time. I was like, this is obviously like a terrible live stream and not fucking working. So I'm just going to get rid of this. And that's what I ended up doing. So, as far as like just a streaming experience, this went much better than the last time. Okay, here we go. Good question. Shout out to my boy Pat, because all these questions right now are just coming from Pat, a friend of mine back home in Sault Ste. Marie and in my home league. Except he doesn't live in Sault Ste. Marie. It's just like I know it's weird where it's like I know him from the home league because that's from there. But anyways, getting away from the actual point here. Who will be the biggest fantasy flop of the day? So who's the biggest flop? Ooh, Tony Pollard. And I know people hate me for that, but that's my first gut reaction is Giants defense is pretty good. Dallas, I believe, I'll have to double check. I think they're on the road. I've said this is just me doubling down on the fact that I've said they are on the road. So Tony Pollard, it's Tony Pollard for me. The Giants defense, I think, is really good, especially the defensive line under Brian Dable. It's a road matchup. Granted, it is a night game, but man, there's something off about the Cowboys this year to me for the offense. Maybe I'll be eating my words come tonight. but I'm really not enthused about Mike McCarthy and Brian Schottenheimer. So I think now here's the problem with that. You can't not play Tony Pollard. He's in your lineup. If you drafted Tony Pollard, 100% he's in your lineup. You are praying that he has a good game. I don't know that he actually will, though. And this is me saying, like, I don't know that the Dallas offense is going to have a good game in this game. I think all of them are going to underperform compared to fantasy expectations. Maybe you'll get enough so that it's not as bad, but we'll see. So I think Tony Pollard and just Dallas Cowboys in general is going to be my first. Let's see if we can pick out another one here. He was trying to say DJ Moore. That doesn't even make sense. DJ Moore is a smash play. At this point, the only way that I don't see DJ Moore being awesome is if the Packers can't keep up and the Bears just stuff it down their throat by running the ball 100 million times with Khalil Herbert, Roshan Johnson, and Deontay Foreman. But beyond that, like, to me, the Bears are at home. They're going to want to show off a little bit. No, I think DJ Moore is a smash play, so I disagree with him there. James Conner, if I could avoid it in any way, shape, or form. Now, you probably can't. You probably drafted him as an RB2. But if you were one of those teams that got really good value on him and drafted him as an RB3 or even an RB4, but more likely, like, you drafted him as your third running back, if somehow you could not have to start him today, I might. You'd have to have a pretty good option to replace James Conner. Like, if here's a perfect example. If you started with Derrick Henry and then like Travis Etienne or Najee Harris or something, and then you came back and you were looking for value and you ended up getting James Conner and then later got Jamal Williams. Jamal Williams 1,000% today over James Conner easily. Kendre Miller is out. Alvin Kamara is suspended. Like, that whole backfield is going to be Jamal Williams today. And the Tennessee Titans is a softer matchup than the Washington Commanders, even with Chase Young potentially out. The defense and the defensive line under Ron Rivera is really good. Connor might get it done just like in a really ugly fashion, and it's not going to be fun to watch, but if I can avoid, like I said, if I can avoid it, if I have a really good second option like a Jamal Williams, that would be one I'm willing to sit. I think, and Kyle Pitts. You just look, Arthur Smith hates Kyle Pitts. I keep saying it over and over. And it's kind of like a joke, but at the same time, it's because Arthur Smith runs the top, like, he's in the top 5 of coaches that run 2 tight end sets, which are heavy blocking scheme sets, and they're not really designed like to maximize the talents of a receiving tight end like a Kyle Pitts. It's the complete opposite. He's being asked to stay in and block, like a big body dude, like you would expect, like from like a Mike Gesicki or something. And it's funny because it's like even Mike Gesicki's like considered like not that great of a blocker. It's like he's 6'6", 250, and Kyle Pitts is like similarly sized. So yeah, maybe stop asking these like athletic receiving tight ends to stay in and block. Like, the game has evolved. You can use 3 wide receiver sets and even use the tight end as a 4th wide receiver if you craft your plays correctly. So until I see a change in coaching bit, like, I'm just out on Kyle Pitts this whole year. But just, I mean, if you, again, it's like, these are players where if you drafted them and you believe in them, then fuck what I'm saying. Like, you have to play them week 1. I might not like Tony Pollard. I might not like Kyle Pitts. I might not like who the fuck was the other guy I said? Oh, James Conner. I might not like those plays today, but I'm just some idiot wearing a fantasy football t-shirt with a Lego Batman in the background who loves the Steelers and loves fantasy football and loves comics and just, gets stoned. So it's like, how much is my advice really fucking worth? There's a reason I put entertainment before the advice. If you look on my channel, it's entertainment and advice. I will always put that way because it's like at the end of the day, gotta trust the fire in your belly. But yeah, I wouldn't start those players. That's just me. Oh, here. I can pull. There were a couple of questions earlier in one of these chats that I'm in. Oh, yeah. So here's a real deep dive ugly one. Someone was asking Hunter Renfrow or Terrace Marshall. This is for like you deep dynasty managers out there. I have a 16-team dynasty league with like super deep rosters where it's like I had to start Josh Reynolds. So it's like I do understand that those leagues exist. I get it, guys. Those aren't regular leagues. Regular leagues, when people are talking about the average and the norm, they're talking about 10 to 12 man, like redraft. That's the average. All these crazy, like super deep fucking like 18-man roster fucking like that's not regular fantasy football. So it's like I always love when there's like I made a post or I commented on someone else's post of like, why are we starting Sky Moore and Jaden Reed in week 1? And it's like, of course, every dude from one of those fucking like fringe leagues has to come out and be like, well, I'm in this league that has 4 starting wide receiver and 15 flex spots and 27 roster spots and a taxi squad that never fucking ends. And it's like, okay, cool. That's nice for your one fucking league like that, but the majority of 10 to 12-man leagues don't run like that. And so if you are in one of these 10-man, 12-man leagues, please don't be starting fucking Sky Moore next week. All right. So yeah, the question, getting on a long rant. Hunter Renfrow or Terrace Marshall in the yuck dumpster. Yeah, I'm going with Hunter Renfrow because, and this is again going back to evaluating veteran production versus hope and potential. Hope and potential is nice. Yes, there are guys that evolve into actual fantasy studs that you saw coming before everyone else. And when that happens, man, it feels great. You usually crush your league, get to give yourself a big old pat on the back. That happens 5 to 10% of the fucking time. The other, like 50, and then like everything gets chunked out, but like 50% of the time, the veteran players continue to produce like veteran players do. So a guy like an Adam Thielen is going to get you 808. A guy like Hunter Renfrow is going to get you 808. Those players are not to be ignored in deep formats and in best ball when you're getting to the end of the draft. So again, when you're getting to the doldrums of asking me Terrace Marshall, who hasn't done anything ever in his career, and I understand he's in his 3rd year and we want to see him make people are shitting on Gabe Davis like he can't fucking evolve, and he is 10 times better than Terrace Marshall. So don't fucking come at me with Terrace Marshall if you don't believe in Gabe Davis. Like, the two are basically the same situation, except Gabe Davis has a better quarterback, a better team, a better coaching staff, and he's bigger and stronger and probably a little bit more talented, to be honest. The only thing missing from Gabe Davis is a catch rate that is acceptable. If he can push to 65% catch rate this year, he's going to dominate for fantasy. You know what Terrace Marshall's going to do? Fuck all again. Because he's got a rookie quarterback on a team that Frank Reich, like, we saw him flame out at Indy. What's going to be any different really in Carolina? Like, I'm rooting for their success. I don't root against. I'm Canadian. I honestly don't give a shit, and I generally root for the success of teams as opposed to their downfall. But I think being Canadian gives me the outside perspective to also not get infatuated with teams that clearly don't have a fucking shot of doing anything. And that's what the Panthers are this year. So, yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. And it's like, as much as I think, yeah, okay, fine, the Raiders aren't the greatest situation, but, the exodus of Darren Waller leaves like 100+ targets on the field. They only brought in Jacoby Myers, who I don't see as like this like crazy star that's just going to soak up a mass amount of targets. And then it's like, so it's going to be Devontae Adams, and then Jacoby Myers will have a game, Hunter Renfrow will have a game. I feel like Hunter Renfrow will honestly have more games because I think Hunter Renfrow is better than Jacoby Myers. I don't think that's like a wild leap to make either. If you want to take Hunter Renfrow's best season and put it up against Jacoby Myers, and granted, they were, again, in different situations, and Hunter Renfrow was in a better situation, but Hunter Renfrow has been on this team forever. So, honestly, I tend to value veteran guys that I have seen done it before. Hunter Renfrow had 1,000 yards and 9 touchdowns just the year before last. And last year, dealt with a bunch of shitty injuries, but in the games that he played, usually had about 6-7 receptions and would catch a tutty. I don't see Terrace Marshall being viable that way for you in any kind of consistent or reliable fashion. Now, maybe I'm wildly wrong and it happens to be that 10%, but that's the point, is you have to really believe in Terrace Marshall. You have to really be calling your shot, but you also have to be willing that if it doesn't work out, honestly, within the first 4 weeks of this season, it's probably never going to happen. In his third year at this point, with the coaching staff constantly changing, his ceiling now has become Zay Jones. That's the level that ultimately a guy like Terrace Marshall can get to. So no, I don't just bank on the hope and dream that he might become a thing, as opposed to the veteran that's constantly ignored. Even on his own team, Adam Thielen is going to wildly outproduce Terrace Marshall this year. There's no question in my mind that that's going to happen. Thielen's going to be, and speaking of being questionable, Thielen will be questionable the entire year. He'll spend almost the entire year on the IR reports as questionable for one thing or another. As long as he plays, he's a viable fantasy wide receiver as a third wide receiver or in your flex, because Bryce Young is a rookie who is looking for a veteran to target on third downs and in the red zone. It's like playing a shitty tight end. That's how I kind of view Adam Thielen this year. Hey, we ended up making it all the way to almost 12:30. Shout out to Sideline Report joining us. Yes, thank you. Appreciate. Good luck. Shout out to my Steelers. If for anyone watching, if you think Jaylen Warren is a thing, he's not a thing. He might have a small role, which will be great for my football team. It will not be great for your fantasy football team. The split will be similar to kind of what we saw from David Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs, except Najee Harris is wildly more talented than David Montgomery. And I think it's hilarious when people try and act like he isn't. He is so clearly a dominant 3-down back. Tomlin loves him like a fucking another son. The split at the most is going to be 60-70 for Najee and then 30-40 for Jaylen Warren, depending on, depending on Najee's health, I feel like. I think the only thing that they're going to be concerned about is keeping Najee healthy for the entire year, because last year he dealt with the foot thing and still finished top 15, by the way. And the year before that was top 5. And again, both times on grody offenses with grody offensive lines. Like, the offensive line looks so much better this year. It's not even close. Hey, it's officially 12:30. I'm going to go get ready for some NFL football. If you joined me for this live stream, thank you so much. I appreciate you. We will be back next week around the same time to answer all of your questions. So I super appreciate you all, and catch you all on the flip side.